There's the old voice of God. My name is Bryce. I am one of the career and professional development advisors. A few of you I recognize, we've met before. A few of you are new to me, and those online, I can't see you directly, but it's very nice to meet you. I recognize some of the names on there from folks I've met with before. We're all here today because you're looking for jobs, right? Looking for opportunities, looking for jobs. We know that we have quite a few mechanical engineers that are seeking positions right now from our recent graduating class and the class before that in the previous year. So this is an opportunity to kind of dive in a little bit, take a look at some industry trends, and also just like have a conversation together about where we're at in the process and get some guiding tips and strategies for so you can go from where you are now to where you want to be, right? Which is in a full-time position. So again, that's kind of going to be the focus today. Let me know again, online folks, I can have the chat up here. So feel free to message me if you have some questions coming up, or you can, unmute yourself, and ask something. It is going to be a little loud in the room when you unmute. So just want to make you aware of that. Great. Well, let's get going. Just so you know, and thanks for those that put the email in the chat. I am going to be sending out a digital version of navigating your job search, which is, for those of you in person, is the thing in front of you right now. It's a very simple little workbook. It's just meant to mostly be like a reflection tool. There is a notes page on the back of it. So if you need a space to like take some notes today, you can certainly do so. But again, for those that are online, right, you've got computers in front of you, take notes in the way that works best for you. And then I will email at the end of the session a digital copy of this roadmap. And again, it's just kind of a way to evaluate some things about yourself. We're all in different places when we're in a job search, right? And so this is kind of just an opportunity to help you from wherever you are now. Talked about a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. Talk about where some of you are at in your current searches that you were talking a little bit beforehand, which was awesome. I'll cue in the online folks and have you all who are willing to share as well, either by turning off your mics or by sending something through the chat. We're going to go over some industry data and trends specific to mechanical engineering and talk about strategies and other job seeker resources that you may or may not be using yet. So just to get us started, want to get a sense, and we'll start maybe with some of the folks in the room, and I can help kind of describe what you're saying to some of the folks online if they can't hear you. Talk a little bit about, what's bringing you here today. Obviously, right, talk about getting a job, right? That's the big part of it. But I'm curious, like, what maybe specifically, talk a little bit about where some of you are at in your search right now, briefly. And also a little bit of like what you hope to get out of today that might help me as I'm moving through different resources, kind of tailor it towards some of the folks that are here, both in person and online. We'll start with the in-person folks. Anybody want to start with sharing kind of, where you're at in the search right now and what maybe one thing you're hoping to get out of today?
I guess I'll start.
Sure. Thanks, Warren.
Right now, my search not turning up a block a lot, so I'm hoping that is my showing a little more where to look.
Okay. Gotcha. So Swire was sharing that that he's not turning up a lot of opportunities right now, and he's trying to find some other avenues to source some networking and some jobs. Yeah. Sean, do you want to share?
A lot of overlap.
Okay.
And feels like
Okay. Yeah. So Sean's kind of sharing like, probably some folks ghosting you, right? And you're not getting any response back. Maybe you are getting a response back, but it's coming like really like much later than you would assume, right? And even maybe to just say no thanks, right? When you're kind of waiting to hear back from somebody. I think that some folks can identify with that, definitely.
I think Phil, the right thing, like finding would be good. I did get like a few interviews, and one like iffy offer.
Okay.
Weird. But the ones that I interviewed with, want a little bit more experience, so.
Okay, so sharing that you've receiving some offers, trying to figure out and go through them a little bit, and some interview opportunities. So you're moving forward in the search, which is great.
Me personally, I had an offer to continue at my internship, but it was very low. So I was like, no thanks. And then it's like what they're saying, I'm having a hard time hearing back from people.
Okay,
And also sometimes I'm automatically getting screened out.
Okay.
I think it's because of my experience, even though the job listings that I'm looking at are like associate level positions, so they don't really require experience.
okay. So sharing that, getting potentially screened out of opportunities early on, maybe you're getting like some really quick replies back when you apply, being like, hey, sorry.
Like automated messages.
Automated messages. Okay, gotcha. Great. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that too. Folks that are online, does anybody want to share either through chat or by unmuting yourself? Love to hear from folks online as well. And if you're just joining us, please remember to put your name and email into the chat.
So for me, I've had a couple calls with companies, but I'm just trying to figure out, I guess, exactly where I should be applying to, because I've been applying to all kinds of different companies. And should I be applying to places where the position's maybe a little bit above my skill level? I'm not sure I would be able to do it. Or if I should just stick with lower level stuff that I know I could do and then work my way up from those positions.
Okay. Thanks for sharing, Ben. Just kind of mentioning, like, you know, and we've been working together a little bit, right? Where to start, right? You know, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit in this presentation. Like, you know, if you're not, feel like you're not getting the interest or seeing the opportunity, maybe for the specific kind of job that you're looking at or wanting to be in right now, you know, is there a way to identify a near right position that is going to help you acquire some of those skill sets? Yeah, we're going to talk more about that, Ben. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else that wants to share online? I don't have to necessarily hear from everyone, but just want to give people a chance to be part of this discussion with your peers. Okay, cool. If you do want to share something as we go, feel free, folks that are online, to put it into the chats. But let's go ahead and move forward in our presentation here today. We're going to start by talking a little bit more about some industry data and trends, which I think are helpful for providing some context around your search. So these are some numbers that I want to share. The first is Job Outlook, which is basically calculated by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the federal government. Job growth outlook specifically for mechanical engineering is a little slower than what would be considered the average, right? So the average would be closer to like 5 to 7% would be considered average job growth in a specific industry. I mean, you know, you can pull numbers from a lot of different places. This says 2%. I've also seen some other sources that say it's closer to 4%. So somewhere between 2 and 4% is the job growth outlook between 2021 and 2031. So I wanted to kind of contextualize our conversation by starting with that. A little bit about median wages, right? The wages in this industry are still good for people that are in these positions. Median wage of $96,000 a year. There has been salary growth over the last 5 years of 7%. Specific to mines, our outcomes from our last report, so it would have been 2021, 2022, undergraduate average, you're looking at about $72,000 a year starting salary. And for master's students, which I think most folks were undergraduates here today, there might be some master's folks online. Graduate, master's, great, thanks for sharing, Sean. Looking at about 87,000, so you know, about 15 grand more on the average starting salary for students that have completed a master's degree. What I think this is really pointing towards is there is, you know, there are folks who are well established in their positions and they tend to stay in those positions a long time, right? You know, or move between companies, right? But they're not necessarily leaving mechanical engineering to do something else, right? there's things like, technology changes and the way that we've been able to, use AI and other tools to assist people in their work, right? I think is creating some less demand. But there still is opportunity out there, right? Still positions out there. In fact, Colorado is ranked number 7 in Denver specifically for city states with the most mechanical engineers. There, if you want to look at like the full list, you can go on a site called Zippia, that's Zippia, and they do kind of like an industry trend report that I'm pulling some of this information from, in case you want to look at some other cities, right, that are hiring more mechanical engineers or have more specific positions open in specific cities. So again, I think that something to be aware of as we're looking at this, and I like sharing that salary data just so for those of you that are getting offers or seeing those kind of things, like I said, hopefully when you're thinking about your internship, you're like, yeah, this wasn't close to what I was, trying to do. That wasn't on average for what I'm seeing here, right? One thing I want to kind of talk with people about is the technology trends as well. Technology trends that I think are really big in this field right now include things like electric vehicles, 3D printing, simulations on digital twins for like testing, right? Some of you may be familiar with that through your education here. I know I saw some senior design projects doing kind of digital twins and simulation testing. AI, obviously, wireless connectivity as well, and utilizing insights from big data to really, especially in like manufacturing processes, right? So these are some like of the bigger technology trends that are going on. I'm curious, I know that you're job seekers and recent graduates. Is there a way that like you all try and keep track of maybe trends that are happening in the industry or in the field? Is that something that is on your radar at all, or is it all applications right now? Mostly applications, yeah. So just something to be aware of, maybe through LinkedIn, right? As you're following companies and seeing like news and things like that, or like stuff's coming up in your feed. It's something I would encourage you to like pay attention to, right? Because as you're job seeking, it's not just about the skills you already have, right? It's knowing and being aware of, it's knowing and being aware of like what's coming up next, right? It's knowing and being aware of what the valuable skill sets are. They're going to help you continue to, once you find a job, right, continue to grow your career, or potentially, I identify some things that like, well, while I'm job searching, maybe there's a certificate I want to work on earning or some online coursework I want to take to help bump up my skill set in a certain area, right? Skills become the language of employers. They become something that's very valuable, right? Let's see if I have anything else on here. Oh, some other tips from Zippia that were just kind of surrounding some feedback from mechanical engineers and as in their job search. I don't know for folks online and in person, are any of you specifically trying to look for like remote roles? Okay, that's good, because I think that, and maybe you've already understand their, yeah. Oh, you're avoiding them. Okay. Well, it's really different by major. Like if I ask that question to computer science, like they're all going to say yes, right? But the reality is, especially for mechanical engineering right now, that like, most roles you're going to be expected to be in person or potentially hybrid, right? And I know that a lot of graduates are looking for remote opportunities, so I just want to make that clear. It kind of makes sense with the kind of work you're looking to get into. I'm assuming that most all of you enjoy working with your hands, enjoying, right, being around stuff and tooling it, right? So, something to keep in mind there, that like, if you're looking for remote positions, they're going to be fewer and far between for sure. Some feedback that some professionals on Zippia gave is, make sure you're showcasing your practical experience, right? Whether it's through projects, right, or other work you've done, whether that's in the classroom or in other projects, internships, things of that nature. Whether it's in your resume or cover letters, make sure you're representing that well. A couple of you I've met with, we've done some resume work together. I know that you have it on there. It's just really important for recruiters and for hiring managers to see that. So I always like to remind folks of that. I would also, mention, I talk about this a lot about this with mine students, is make sure you're still representing soft skills that you have, right? You're going to see those in the job postings. Make sure that you are representing those somewhere on your resume, whether it's in a skills section or other areas. Leadership and teamwork skills are going to be highly valued and recognized. So if there's, a project, you're even within, like, if you're talking about a project, talk about, I was the team lead, right? With the role you had in the project, or the way that you, worked with your team to get the work done. Even in your interviews, I've done some interview prep with a few of you. Talk about the way that you collaborated with your team. Very few engineers work in isolation, right? You might have your own aspect or own piece of something you're working on, but the majority of folks, right, are going to be working in teams. And that is going to be something that their employers are always looking for. This next slide is, kind of going back to thinking. A few of you asked about, like, where should I be going? I think Ben asked about it. Where should I be going with my search if I'm not, like, seeing opportunities in the kind of industry I'm looking for? So on the, I don't know which orientation is for those folks, but on the right-hand side, my right-hand side of the screen, we have this kind of reported industries that students are moving into. This is from, like, our more recent annual reporting. So tons of different industries, right? So, there's, I'm not trying to say that mechanical engineering lends itself to everything, but I think that, overall, the skill set and the education you're getting at mines and the orientation towards problem solving can lend itself in a lot of different directions, depending on what you want to go to, right? So be aware of that. We're gonna, in the next slide, we're gonna go over some different job titles that students that have found jobs are reporting, so you can see the wide variety of job titles might help you with some of your keywords and searches. But again, like, I would encourage you to think about it the way that employers think about it, right? Think about it in terms of skills, right? What kind of skills are needed in these different industries, different areas? And you're going to see the job postings, you're going to see what they require. How can you, best position the skills and competencies you have to match with what they're looking for? I pulled some of the kind of technology and hard skills that are top rated. This is from ONET Online, which is a really good database for looking at job outlook and job information, including salary by state. It's a really good resource, has a bunch of stuff on it. Some of the top technology and hard skills that they are listing there are analytical and scientific software, so different types of software. I'm pretty sure that MATLAB is something that comes up through your guys' coursework from the students I've talked to, maybe some of these other ones as well. Obviously, CAD, right, is going to be a big one. There's different types of programs that represent different types of CAD, right? But they're, if you know one, you're going to be able to pick up another, right? Make sure those are represented. And also, like, this kind of, like, programming side of things as well, which I think there's probably some coursework, minimal coursework you all did within your major regarding that, potentially getting some like maybe not, but just something to be aware of, right? That's not uncommon to see those skills listed in mechanical engineering resumes as well, and required in job postings. Soft skills: active listening, communication, critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, analytical thinking, right, and teamwork. These are going to be very common soft skills that are going to be required by mechanical engineers. If you're seeing these kind of things in job postings, make sure you're representing it either through your bullet points or in your skills section of your resume, so that you're getting those keywords in there. As you're moving through your search, you're all here because you're still searching, and searching for a job isn't easy. We're going to talk more about that process. But, I would encourage you, like, seeing these different types of industries, thinking about the ways that you're orienting your search right now. Keep yourself open to the possibilities, right? Starting somewhere, whether it's or not, it's exactly what you're looking for right now. But if it's in an engineering role, it's going to give you the opportunity to gain experience. It's going to be valuable for you, right? And it can help you take that longer view of where you want to be. And once you're on the inside, you're networking, you're learning more skills, right? You're able to pivot and decide where you want to go from there. Hopefully you can all see this okay. I know it's a little small, or at least it looks small to me. This is a sample report of companies that have hired mine students, as well as the reported job titles that they got hired in. I think the thing that really blows my mind as I'm looking at this is there's a huge variety when it comes to mechanical engineering. I mean, maybe more so than some of the other ones that I've been building these workshops for. Yeah, feel free if you want to take a screenshot, take a picture, whatever works best for you. One nice thing about being able to see this is, starting to think about, okay, what kind of keywords can I use as I'm building my searches out? What kind of keywords and job titles can I be setting up different searches for, right? That might open up some possibilities I'm not seeing yet. Obviously, there are some, I would say maybe some top employers that hire mine students. Lockheed, Northrop Grumman, and Sierra Nevada are some big companies that hire with students. I didn't even put all of the roles that they had hired for in there because it's kind of too big. Yeah.
Is this roughly in order of volume of what they've been hiring, or?
Not necessarily. I mean, kind of. I just kind of started with the list with like who had hired the most, and that's like kind of started on the left-hand column. So like roughly, but I did take some of those out just because I wanted to fit in other companies and so you can see other roles as well. Hopefully you're seeing some of these kind of job titles represented as you're looking at it, but again, like this is coming down to who you are, right? And what you're looking for and what kind of unique skill sets you possess. I mean, look, there's a mechanical engineer who was hired as a software engineer, right? So it really does, and who knows, they might have done like a minor in CS, something along those lines. But be thinking about that as you're moving through these things, right? We've got some reported like customer care folks. I'm pretty sure there's like some sales engineer stuff in here as well. So just be aware of that, right? As you're going through your search, that staying open to those possibilities, a starting place in the industry is going to help you get your foothold and know where to go from there. Okay, talked a little bit about the industry side of things and trends. I want to move forward into just kind of doing a little bit of an overview of the job search process itself, because as you know, it can be a little bit challenging, right? This is just a representation of like what we would consider a proactive job search cycle. You might have seen this before in presentations when you were a mine student. I just wanted to put it here again. Everyone's going to kind of be in a little bit different place. I had some folks talking about, like, it sounds like a lot of us are in the apply and following up for job areas right here. Some folks talked about like preparing for interviews, that kind of thing. Just be aware of this, that there's a lot of activities that you need to use and do as a job seeker. We don't have enough time today to go over every single one in detail, right? I think that's fair to say. I'm going to be kind of focusing on the job search process overall, and then focusing in on maybe some specific things that I don't see a lot of students doing, so I can encourage you to be doing those things as well. So ways you're uncovering opportunities, right? Obviously online, hopefully from your network. We're going to talk more about that soon. Direct links with employers, right? Some of us talked about like opportunities coming from internships, other interactions. If you are still, continuing to search into the fall semester, I would very well encourage you to come by our career day in the fall, right? It's coming up, honestly, not that far away. And basically you can just treat that as like a big hiring event, right? For you as a Mines alumni. You're more than welcome to attend as a Mines alumni. So just want to make that clear. Great opportunity there if you're still kind of in the midst of your search. Social media, right? Looking for opportunities there. And then also you might be contacted, whether it's through LinkedIn or some other service, by like a headhunter. I'm not sure if anybody's had that come up before, a couple times. Those can be hit and miss, right? You kind of have to use some intuition and some judgment and go through some communication to see how legit those requests are. Obviously, those are people that are paid to find people to fill roles. So there's some ethical things that happen there. Just make sure you're doing your due diligence as you go through that. And we're always available to talk. If you want to send us emails or whatever, that communication, always happy to speak with individual students. Where to search? Hopefully you're using one or more or all of these kind of platforms as you're engaging in your job search. Yes, Squire.
Question, Ed, real quick.
Yeah.
So if I just get contacted by some random person asking about like a software engineering job, I'm assuming it's just somebody doing the shotgun style approach and seeing what sticks to the wall. Is it bad that I don't reply to those?
Yeah, good question. Just for the folks that are online, Squire was asking about like headhunters, how they're communicating that kind of stuff, whether or not you should even respond. And actually, as you were saying that, Nick was also sharing the chat, like, be careful of the emails and like, you know, similar to like when you're in, well, I can't say when you're in a company, but like when you're a student stuff, you're like of like phishing attempts, that kind of stuff. Obviously, it's in your interest as a job seeker to have your information out there so people can get a hold of you. It also means that people that you maybe don't want to get a hold of you are getting a hold of you, right? So definitely be careful. Be aware of like, you know, phishing attempts. Like if there's like a lot of like clickable links, things like that, you might just like look up the company separately or like try and read some more information to see if this is actually like person that works there, that kind of thing. Double check the one really good way to tell is like reread their email, because usually it's something very similar, but it's not quite the right email for the company. You may not know what that looks like. You can go on the company page and you can see their general contact email. If the ending address doesn't look right, it's possible, right, that it's a scam. Is it okay, Squire, you're asking like, okay to kind of ignore
It
requests?
looks like a legit agency, but just something that's completely not interested, not qualified for.
Yeah.
Not even responding is not a professional. There's a lot of negatives in this.
I see what you're asking. Yeah, I would say, you know, it's really up to you, like what you want to respond to. Nobody can, you know, force you to respond to something that you're not interested in or you don't want to respond to. Obviously, like continuing to uncover opportunities is a great way to figure out what's available. And in a lot of engineering roles, you know, when you start getting to interview stages, you'll find that folks will, you know, sometimes bring you in interviews for something and say, hey, like, oh, we also have this other opportunity. I'm not sure if anybody's had kind of gone through some of that before, whether it's with internships or other things. So just be aware of that. There could be something else there that's good, but I would just say do your due diligence. You know, you all know how to conduct effective research. If it's a staffing agency or a headhunter, right? Look up the information, right? Call them, you know, talk with them, right? In person. Hey, I just want to, you know, learn more about like what you're asking me about. Yeah, good question. So make sure you're using a lot of these different tools as you're searching. I strongly recommend, if you haven't already as job seekers, using job alerts so that you can kind of bring the search to you. Consider, you know, different key terms, different locations, that kind of thing as you're setting those up. Bringing the search to you is going to make it a lot easier. Cool. So these are some kind of representation of some like kind of general activities and actions that we would be encouraging you to do during your job search. Both for folks that are online and in person, you know, online folks either put in the chat or you can unmute. Love to hear, like, are you all feeling like you're doing all of these things, or is there like some of these things you are doing, some of these things you're not doing? Again, some of you I met with and we've worked on a few of these things before. Is there anything out here that, you know, you feel like you are confident in or not? So everyone feels good about tailoring their resume to positions? Yes, mostly-ish. Okay, sharing online that Stephen's saying, you know, tends to do less tailoring because it can take a long time. That's fair. I might have a tool for you later, Stephen, that you may or may not be using that can assist you with that. We can go over that. How about cover letters? Feel good about writing cover letters? It's not too crazy. Okay. Feel okay about it. Getting some like, yeah, can take some practice, right? Okay. Again, that there's also a tool that can help assist you with tailoring those that I'll go over here in a little bit. Company and industry research, it's probably, I'm guessing that one's fairly straightforward. It's pretty easy to get on a company's website or view them on LinkedIn or follow them on LinkedIn, that kind of thing. Yeah, okay. Finding positions themselves. So we looked at some of those search tools. Are you feeling like you're uncovering enough positions to apply to? Oh, it's a little, not as sure on that one. Okay. What? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Okay. Yeah, uncovering positions can be tricky because I think that it's also like dependent on what you're looking for, right? And other factors, location. You might uncover something, but be like, oh, it's not a location I'm really interested in. It's not at a salary that I'm maybe feeling comfortable with. So it doesn't really feel like an opportunity. It is an opportunity, but maybe it doesn't feel like an opportunity for you, right? Fair. Applying, all of you had mentioned so far, at least in person, talked about feeling comfortable applying. I'm assuming for some of the folks online as well. Using LinkedIn, is everybody using LinkedIn here? Kind of, we got a few kind ofs. We're going to go over LinkedIn in the second half of this presentation. So if you're not using LinkedIn, I highly recommend it. I mean, it's the professional networking tool. It is like the social media for getting a job, basically. It's a great opportunity for people to find you as well if you've got the right keywords in there. Definitely something I encourage. How about connecting with industry professionals? Are you talking to people who are working in these fields? Not getting as much confident response on that one. We're going to talk more about that too. One, Nick says you talked to one person. This, and you'll see this in the next slide. I do think that this is like one of the main things to kind of point out and to encourage as you're moving through your job search. You have to connect with people who are in the field. You have to connect with people who are hiring, right? And it's not just through online job applications, right? You have to use some techniques to grow your network and to uncover who's in your network and uncover opportunities. It's going to be a very effective way to find positions where you're not just one in a stack, right? That proverbial pile of resumes, right, that you could be in if you're applying online gets a lot smaller when you have a referral link, or you've gotten your resume to the hiring manager, or somebody in the organization passes that on for you, right? So that networking piece becomes extremely important. It's often something that I think can be overlooked in the job search as you're grinding away, working on application after application. So we're definitely going to spend a little more time talking about that. How about attending like hiring fairs or events? Has anybody attended a hiring fair outside of Career Day? Yeah? Where'd you go? Just curious. Say it again. Okay, the ASHRAE conference. Yeah. Anything come of that, or no leads or anything? Okay. Couple.
They were all pretty much full up for that. And they said,
Okay. All right. It's not too far from fall, right? Yeah, that's cool. Right, Nick's saying that you weren't available. Maybe it was for like a previous career day, or for like or for another hiring event. Maybe it's the same one that we're talking about here, the ASHRAE event. Yeah, I mean, keep an eye out for those, whether it's through like the city, the county, the state. You'll see these hiring fairs and job fairs crop up. That's not always something that I think students are necessarily looking at versus applying online. But it's a great opportunity because, again, similar to Career Day, they're bringing the employers to a specific location. They're going to have their recruiter represented there. You can go in showing your best. You have this practice from Career Day. You know what to do. Show up looking your best, right? Looking professional. Bring copies of your resume. Bring something you take notes with, right? Have an elevator pitch ready to speak with some folks. Right? If you go to something that's like, I'm just going to make it up, that's for like Denver County hiring fair or Denver County event, is every single job going to align with what you're looking for? Probably not, right? There's going to be a bunch of departments where it's just like, I'm not an accountant, or I'm not here to like work on business development, right? but there are engineering roles too, right? And you can always kind of look that stuff up ahead of the fair, target who you're gonna go speak with, similar to a career day. So make sure those are on your radar. It's another good opportunity to look at some local positions, really no matter where you are, whether you're in Colorado or folks that are joining online, wherever you are. You know, if there's a hiring events in your area and you're looking local. Allison's asking, how do I find them? Yeah, I mean, really, I would encourage online research. I mean, really just like based on your location, you could look up like Colorado job fairs, state job fairs, you know, insert whatever state hiring events. That's gonna pull up quite a few links just through a simple Google search. And then I would just say, you know, spend some time clicking through those individually. Again, these are often hosted either by the state, the city, or the county. So that's a great way to start your kind of search terms and then put in like hiring event or hiring fair. So that's going to be a good way to look for some of those opportunities, Allison. Good question. Cool. Talked a little, oh, we're going to get to see all that stuff again. That was exciting. Switch gears a little here. Staying motivated in your job search. Right? A lot of wry smiles coming out now, which is great. These are some quick tips, I think, to really help you stay motivated. This is probably one of the harder things to do in a job search, right? Because you put a lot of time and effort into this, right? You are grinding away, doing your best, right? You're maybe seeing peers, other people around you have success that you want to be having, right? It can be a very emotional and tumultuous journey to be a job seeker. And, you know, I want you to know, I mean, obviously, like you folks are here in person, we got a handful of folks here online. You know, you're not the only ones going through this. You're not the only major going through this. You're not the only recent graduates going through this, right? You know, this is something that people go through and that you're likely going to end up going through again at some point in your career, right? As you get a job and you're moving on to another one. So setting goals, finding structure, and finding accountability are some great ways to kind of stay motivated and stay on top of your search. Part of that is just staying organized. I've talked with a lot of job seekers. Make sure you're tracking the kind of things you're applying to. It's just really important so you can make those notes and be able to refer back to them and know, okay, here's the job posting, here's how much the salary was if it's posted, you know, the organization, the role. It's great because it can give you a guide for knowing when to send follow-ups. We talked about like people not getting back to you, that kind of stuff. Sometimes you can get lost in the shuffle, again, in that stack of digital resumes, right? But you never know. They might have gone through a hiring period and they might be hiring again. There might be another team that they're building, right? You want to kind of stay on top of their radar, stay top of mind for them. So this can be a great way to track your efforts and be able to conduct effective follow-up. It's also kind of nice. I mean, you know, I think there's a duality to it. Like you see that big long list and you go, okay, I am applying to a lot of stuff, right? My efforts are going somewhere, even though maybe I'm not at that penultimate goal yet. I don't have that job yet, but I have been working on it and I can see the fruits of that through this spreadsheet, right? I can see how many things I'm applying to. It can help you track your goals, right? If you are, you know, working on your search, this is like one option you could use, like kind of giving yourself your own little like point system, whatever it is. Like it doesn't have to be points, you know, but and I would encourage you to be setting goals. If you're setting goals for, you know, your applications you want to get in, or also potentially setting up goals for how many folks you want to network with on a weekly, monthly basis, that kind of thing, which I would encourage breaking it down into sub goals to help you work towards something that's more bite-sized. As you're doing that, just make sure you're finding time to give back to yourself, to reward yourself for your work, right? That's going to be important too. You can't just grind on it all the time. It will break you down, right? You got to find time to do stuff that you love too, and know that yes, I'm taking some time away from my job search, but if you're meeting your goals and with what you plan to do, it's going to give you an opportunity to find a way to step away and give some time back to yourself, right? Rest, relax, recharge. You need to do that to be able to continue to put that energy back into this search. This is kind of an overall Venn diagram of what we encourage, right? You're looking for opportunities. We talked about some different ways to do that. you're tailoring your resume, right? You're writing cover letters, you're applying to jobs, and ideally you're getting some interviews, right? I know that's probably most of you are probably doing 1 through 4, and 5 is the part where it's a little sticky, right? We're trying to get some interviews going here. This is where growing your network can be super important. I mean, it really is a parallel effort within your job search that I think that a majority of students aren't always paying attention to. Finding new connections, right? Whether it's in person or online, connecting with people, sending messages, calling them, doing informational interviews. We're going to talk more about that in the last 15 minutes. This is really important. It's going to help you uncover opportunities that are going to actually lead to interviews. So strongly encourage you to be finding ways to grow your network. We'll talk more about that in the next slide here. Again, like I just mentioned, take care of yourself as you're going through this process. These are some things that you could do. I'm not saying that this is for everyone, but find something positive to do in your search, right? Whether it's a gratitude journal, a positivity journal, ways to keep yourself motivated and positive are going to be important when you're having challenges within a job search. Right? Be realistic with your goals, right? There's nothing worse than setting yourself a goal that is like way more than you can handle, right? I'm going to do 20 applications a day, right? First of all, if you are doing 20 applications a day, you're probably not tailoring them in a way that's going to give you the best opportunity to get that resume past an applicant tracking system and pulled forward by an actual person and called for an interview, right? If your number is that high, you're probably just easy applying on LinkedIn, which I would not recommend as like the way to rack up volume, right? You need to be tailoring your documents to the kind of jobs you're applying to. It doesn't mean that you need to spend hours and hours on one document. Squire, we meant, and we talked about a little bit about that. And I was happy to hear you're like, okay, I'm spending like 45 minutes on this, right? Spending 45 minutes tailoring my resume, maybe my cover letter as well, right? Because you're moving from a template to getting some things in from that job posting. So be realistic with your goals. Make sure that it's actually something manageable for you, right? And everyone has their own kind of bandwidth there. Hold yourself accountable, right? Who can help hold you accountable? Some of you are here in person today, some of you are online, right? Are there peers that you have that are job seekers, right? Form a little job search club, right? You're not necessarily in direct competition with each other. I can almost guarantee that everyone's going to be looking for something slightly different. One company you might like, the other person doesn't care about at all, right? It's helpful to have that camaraderie, something to consider, right? For friends that you have, peers that you have, they're also looking for jobs. And maybe that starts here today. Make a list of what matters to you, right? Your negotiables and your non-negotiables in terms of the jobs you're looking for, so that you can make sure you are keeping track of those opportunities, right? If maybe the salary is a little bit lower than you were looking for, but it's an opportunity that lines up with your experience, maybe that's something you're negotiable on. It's like, I'm negotiable within $5,000 to $10,000 of my salary range that I'm trying to be at, right? Or the bottom end of my range, right? Have that list of negotiables and non-negotiables is going to be helpful for you and help guide your search. And again, always, decide on like what your goals are, what your next steps are, so you're figuring out how to move forward in this journey. Okay, we're going to go through, a little bit more talking about networking. This is in the workbook. For those of you that are online, I will send this to you after the meeting today. For those of you in person, I may have enough. Oh, there's one on the door if you want one too, that's printed. I just hung it up there so people know where to show up for. Thanks, Squire. This is on page 2. It's just like a little sample. I can send you all the digital one as well because it's fillable, so it might have some more space for you. I speak with a lot of students and they tell me, I don't have a network, or I don't have a very big network. And I would challenge that. I really would. I think that, you sometimes just don't know how much of a network you have until you really start to reflect and explore it, right? How many second degree connections you have that, whether they are in the industry themselves or know someone in the industry, that they can point you towards. So I'd strongly encourage you to consider who's in your network, right? Whether it's personal, recreational, professional, educational, or social, right? I've been able to acquire jobs through people I used to go to college with, people I've done recreational sports with, right? People that have overlapping interests to me in terms of like some of the hobbies and things I like to do, right? People that you just, meet up with to hang out with, right? You never know, right, who they might know or some of the folks they might be connected to until you start asking. Part of doing this work and this networking work is being willing to reach out to people that you don't know, right? Or a second degree connection. And also being willing to kind of like shout through, whether it's in person or digitally, to let everyone know you're looking for a job, right? When you're really in the middle of a job search, everyone around you should know that you're in the middle of a job search. There's no reason to keep this secret, right? Let the secret out, please, right? Let them know, right, that you're seeking positions. Let them know the kind of work you're interested in, the kind of industries you're interested in. Talk with folks, right? People care, whether this is like family, friends, again, people you might enjoy activities and hobbies with. Let people know what you're interested in, what you're looking for. You never know when somebody's gonna be like, oh, that's cool. I don't do anything related to that, but you know what? I have a really good friend that works at Lockheed, or I have a really good friend that works at X, Y, and Z company. I might be able to get you in touch with them, right? That happens. Those turn into opportunities. So as you're moving through this, one thing I might recommend, we talked about tracking jobs you applied to earlier. I might recommend setting up an Excel sheet for tracking your contacts. It's really easy to not be able to keep track of who your contacts are, or kind of like have them floating in your head. But sitting down, write them out, categorize them. It can just be, first, last name, email or phone number, whatever contact information you might have. Or if you don't even know it yet and you go, okay, got to put a note in to get that contact information from somebody else that I know has it. Track those, categorize them, right? Where you met these folks, that kind of stuff. It can lead to opportunities for sure. LinkedIn is a powerful tool for networking. For those of you that don't have a LinkedIn, I'm going to share a resource in the last 5 minutes, some job resources that might help you develop one. For those of you that do have a LinkedIn, these are just a few general tips. Again, I would encourage you to look for, I have a QR code with some resources here at the end of the presentation. And I think that's a really good starting place to just double check you have the right things in your profile. Be willing to connect with folks. Be willing to, follow companies, to look up information for companies you are applying to and see if you can find people there, maybe people who are specifically Minds alumni, right? Be willing to reach out to them. This is like a sample message. You only get 300 characters if you're not connected with somebody to reach out to somebody on LinkedIn. So keep it brief, keep it short, let them know that you're interested in connecting and talking more about what they do, wanting to learn about, the kind of work they do, how they got into it. That's what we would call kind of informational interviewing. Again, use that company feature, follow companies on LinkedIn. They post jobs to LinkedIn, right? They're going to post news. They're going to post information. Can help you even with your research if you're preparing for an interview, or just like wanting to get some good terms into your cover letter or your resumes. And of course, you can use LinkedIn. If you're on a company page, you can go to the People tab and you can look up individuals, whether that's by name, if you know somebody and you're like, I think they work here, I'm going to look them up. Or you can look up by keywords, hiring manager, a specific type of engineering role of somebody you want to talk with, or by school if you're looking for some Minds alumni. So a great way to kind of officially and unofficially stalk people and find some contacts on LinkedIn. Informational interviewing can be a really good tool for kind of starting networking and uncovering opportunities as well. This is basically a low stakes conversation that you can ask for with the professional. I want to learn more about what you do. I'd love to learn how you got into your career. People love to talk about themselves, love to talk about what they do, and are often willing to give up, 10, 15, 20 minutes of their time to speak with you as, you know, a pre-professional student who's looking for that first professional opportunity. You never know where those conversations are going to go, right? This is something that I did ahead of getting this job. I was talking with different folks at different colleges, ed tech sector, some other things to talk about what it's like working there. Can give you valuable insight, even if it's like for a company and a job you've already applied to. If you can connect with somebody, you might be able to get some inside information before your interview about what it's like working there, the right kind of questions to ask, maybe some projects and research to bring up that will really impress them and go, wow, you really know a lot more about our company than we expected you to. So informational interviewing can be a great tool for kind of building a bridge to growing your network, and strongly encourage you to think about doing that and starting to brainstorm, whether it's on LinkedIn or people you know, some folks as you're building that list of network contacts to reach out to. These are just some quick tips for success. Maybe think about, you know, preparing questions in advance, doing a little research in advance, kind of build your own goals for that meeting. Again, these are not really things where you want to end the meeting with like, great, do you have any jobs for me? Right? This is more of like, I want to get to know you, know what you do. It's going to help me kind of think about what I should be doing with my search efforts, and if I'm interested in the kind of work you do, the kind of company you're in. But also be aware, you know, as you're doing this, you know, you can send them follow-up messages. You know, if you have a good conversation, you connect with somebody through an informational interview, they might offer it up themselves. You know, hey, it's been really great to talk with you. I think that a lot of the interests you have do align with the kind of company I work for. We don't have any positions open right now, but if you would like to, you know, reach out to me in a month, reach out to me in 3 weeks. We might have some things posted then, right? So they might even offer that up as you're moving through that conversation. And always, yes, send a thank you, a follow-up, just to thank them for their time. Oh, they mentioned here too, is there anybody else that you think I should talk to, right? Anybody, right? Again, growing your network. You just met somebody new, just like, hey, is there anybody, you know, that you know of that you think that I should talk to learn more about opportunities, to learn more about this kind of work? You know, if you're willing to offer up some contacts to me, right? Not uncommon for them to be willing to provide that for you, especially if you have a really positive interaction with them. Okay, we got about 5 minutes left. We're gonna spend the last couple of minutes just going over a few resources. Most all of these should have a QR code attached to them. So whether you're in person or virtual, you can scan that QR code. I'll leave a little bit of time on each one and kind of talk a little bit about what each of these do. So again, just make sure you're using DiggerNet. You know, you still have access to DiggerNet, you should. If you don't, I can help you get access to DiggerNet, even though you're graduated students. Keep your account up to date. If you're updating your resume, you can re-upload your resume because that is going to match you to opportunities on DiggerNet. We have an employer directory there, so you can search our employer directory and contacts there. Might give you some people you want to reach out to who are recruiters. You make sure you're using the job search features and parameters there to filter and to set up job alerts in DiggerNet. And then again, if you're still, you know, the workshops and information sessions aren't really going to start kicking back in until the fall. But if you're still a job seeker, you know, look for those events, you know, especially if you're local to Colorado. Join us for workshops in the fall. Join us for Career Day. Join us for Prep with Reps. Like, it's completely fine as an alumni to come join us for those events if you're looking for more information, more training, or, you know, some hiring fair opportunities. Just as a reminder, if you don't know already, you are able to book a meeting with an advisor through this counseling button. This is what your profile should look like pretty much when you log into it. You can click on counseling and follow the prompts there to book an individualized appointment with a career advisor. Again, I can't go over every single aspect of things you should be doing in a 1 hour session. So, you know, it's thinking back to that list of, you know, the things that we encourage you to do, how many of those are you doing, how many of them are you doing well? Come see us. We can cover it A to Z, you know, everything from resume tailoring up through, you know, when you're getting interviews, preparing for those, and also salary negotiation. We're willing to help you with any of those steps in the process and train you on effective ways to do it. Yeah, Andy, thanks for online for sharing. Just want to recognize that you're sharing. You have great experience, but we don't have any openings right now. Yeah, that can be a challenge, right? Absolutely. And I think that, if you have that kind of conversation with somebody in your network, make sure, again, you're tracking that, whether maybe that's in your networking spreadsheet, track that, make a note of that. You can even send a follow-up to say, hey, I appreciate it. I understand, when would be a good time for me to follow up? When would you anticipate that you're looking at maybe doing some more hiring, right? So that I can know the right time to follow up with you. So something to keep in mind there, and even if you can even reach out before then to just touch base and do a little temp check, hey, it's been a month or two. I know you said, you not doing there's not any openings right now. I figured I would just check back in, see how things are going for you, maybe mention something you talked about, right? So it's good to kind of keep those contacts active, even if they don't have an opening right now. So for those of you that have a LinkedIn and are wanting to make it better or don't have a LinkedIn yet, this is a job resource that I recommend. It's called the Job Insiders. These are a couple of guys that were part of the original team that helped build LinkedIn. They've since gone to other companies, other organizations, but they do have some free tools available through their individual site. The profile grader is helpful. It will require you to kind of like log in through like your Gmail or Google account, because it's like a Google form. And then the profile checklist, I think they send it to you if you opt in, like subscribe to their stuff. I'm not here to sell stuff for them. I just generally think that, like, whether it's a starting off point or you just want to double check what you have on your LinkedIn, these guys have some valuable tips. So I'll leave that up for another couple of seconds for those of you that are online, if you are wanting to scan that QR code. Cool. Okay, job scan. So I mentioned earlier, for those, and I think there was somebody online that said tailoring a resume takes forever. Stephen, I think you were talking about that. It can. Tailoring can take time and take practice to get more effective at. JobScan is an effective tool that can help support you with that. They have a tool for tailoring your resume and cover letters, as well as your LinkedIn. They have a job tracker function on there, so you can keep track of opportunities you apply to and what stages you're at. And they also have an ATS friendly resume builder that can be helpful if you're trying to move from maybe a templated resume that has columns or tables, which you don't want, to a more ATS friendly template. They have that there. Here is their QR code that will take you to our website and a place where you can request access for this tool. It's completely free for all students. It's really easy to request access. It's just going to be your name, email, and your quid. And then you can get access within 24 to 48 hours of your request. If you're new to JobScan, you can set up an appointment with a career advisor. I can teach you how to use it, how to get the most out of those tools, whether you're trying to build a resume or tailor a resume. Its main feature is tailoring your resume for positions. It does take a little practice to get used to, but I do think that it can be an effective way to help you organize your tailoring efforts. So
very addictive. Field goes around.
Right. Yeah. It's a little, because it kind of shows you your potential match rate based on what it's pulling from your resume and a job description. So yeah, it can be a little bit of like, I want to get that number higher. They recommend getting close to like the 75% range. That doesn't always happen with every position, based on your skills and experience might not perfectly line up. But it does give you a lot of great things to be aware of when it comes to tailoring resumes, cover letters, and your LinkedIn. Cool. If everybody's got the QR code for that, I'm going to move on to the next resource. This is a little more geared towards, nobody specifically said they were an international student. I guess I didn't ask for folks that are online. If you're an international student or you're an American looking for international jobs, InterStride is a free resource that you could use it's got a ton of resources, a community in there. They do webinars. They talk about visa sponsorship. They have a search tool that is specific to like HB1 visas, right? So sponsorship within the United States. That is something, again, that's free to all students. The QR code is just going to take you to InterStride. You can also just search for it online, and you can just log in with your Minds email, and they will give you access to all their resources. So you don't have to request anything from us. So that is there as well. To end our session today, what I want you to reflect on, and not all of you need to tell me this or say it out loud, based on maybe some of the things we talked about today, just want you to kind of reflect a little and think about just one thing that you could change or get started with in the next 24 to 48 hours. I get it. There is a lot of anxiety. There can be a lot of fear as you're looking at opportunities, second guessing yourself, right? When you haven't caught traction or gotten more interviews or found the kind of things you're looking for yet, you have to keep pushing, right? We talked about ways to help keep yourself organized, ways to help keep yourself motivated. And again, so just start thinking about those little goals, sub goals, things that you can get started with. Even a small thing, can help you kind of break inertia and might open up another aspect of your search, whether it's, using one of these resources to tailor your documents, being more serious about networking in your job search, opening up some other searches with some different keywords. Think about one thing you could take away from this presentation and implement within the next 24 to 48 hours that will help you with your journey. That is the end of my presentation today. For those of you that are online, thanks for joining. If you want to, continued support in your job search, I would recommend booking an individualized appointment through DiggerNet. If you don't have access to DiggerNet or anything like that, let me know. I can help support you with that. You can reach out to me directly. I'll put my email in the chat here, or you can reach out to the Minds Career Center, and we can help you get squared away there. But other than that, I would say thank you for the folks that are joining in person. Thank you for folks that joined online today. Hopefully you got at least one thing out of this presentation that is something a little different that you can help push your job search forward with. Yeah, cool. Great. I'm going to stop the meeting now, but thanks to all for joining today. Let me stop this online.